Hello, everyone. My name's Chris Neto. I'd like to welcome you guys to the July Town Hall. This is with PTZ Optics. We will be joined by Paul Richards momentarily. My name is Chris Neto. I am the Market Development Manager for Starin Marketing, and thank you for joining us. Paul is a professional streamer, per se. He is part of PTZ Optics, but he does a lot of very interesting stuff on the streaming side of the business. So we're going to let him shine at what he knows and does best. And I'm going to stop sharing here and bring Paul on. Paul, how are you, sir?
I'm good, Chris. So excited to be here for this Starin Marketing Town Hall. It's the first time I've ever done this. Not nervous, but I'm excited. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. I know you're going to get a lot out of this short 20, 30 minutes that we have together, and then we're going to jump, obviously, right into Q&A. But ask questions, pop them in the chat if anything comes up. PTZ Optics is a live streaming camera brand. Live streaming has really taken off over the past couple years. Facebook Live came out 3 or 4 years ago, and small businesses of all sizes are getting out there and presenting their products. LinkedIn just launched live streaming. So from a B2B side of things, enterprise CEOs wanting to get their message out to the world on LinkedIn. Amazon just started live streaming. So all those Amazon merchants out there, many of them, maybe your customers or you know someone, they're now live streaming almost QVC style. So much of what used to be television is now coming into the hands of almost any small business. And you'll see throughout this presentation, lots of small businesses, lots of churches, lots of people in the government, lots of verticals here are starting to put in little live streaming studios and really build some really awesome presentation equipment. So here we go. This is actually at a Maroon 5 concert here. I have this picture behind me that'll show you just kind of some of the scenarios. We'll show you guys a lot of pictures, but we're going to talk about the streaming market, which is also kind of the broadcast market, and then also video communications. So video communications is still a really big thing. We're using Zoom right now. In the education space, we see these large presentation spaces. So whether it's a lecture going on, or it's a classroom, or it's a corporate presentation. We're also seeing video content being made by small businesses where they want to interview an engineer or talk about their CEO and where their company's going. We also see a lot of small businesses doing Facebook live streams. And we also see a lot of courtrooms live now actually being mandated by their states, including Florida, Massachusetts, and others that are requiring that all court hearings be live streamed. Churches is one of our biggest verticals. Those Sunday services, these churches are able to share the message of God on social media, but also connect with shut-ins and folks who have supported their church for their entire lives and now maybe can't make it to church as often as they'd like to. Government town hall meetings and also presentations there. Sports, this is a soccer field. You can barely see there's a PTZ Optics camera on a big old tripod there. Lots of opportunity in sports. And we'll talk a little bit about esports as well, which is a huge growing vertical. Telemedicine is one that we'll talk a little bit about today. Telemedicine is obviously in the healthcare area. They're putting mobile carts together, and we've seen a lot of success there. And then distance learning, and in business, obviously video conferencing and video communications. So who are our customers? So about the 23%, the biggest pie here are actually churches. Churches really are moving quickly to start live streaming and getting their message of God out to the world. And that actually represents our biggest vertical. Our second biggest vertical are small businesses and startups. So small businesses looking to leapfrog old technology, skip the pains of the old video codecs and things that maybe are a little outdated today, and start with cloud-based video conferencing, a lot like Zoom. I won't go over all of these, but we're very big in higher education as well. And then there's a couple other here, but that kind of gives you a high-level overview of where we're seeing a lot of success. Now, the biggest areas of growth today are healthcare, telemedicine. I'll explain why in a little bit, but healthcare, we don't have the most customers in healthcare, but when they do buy, a lot of times it's an entire hospital or a really large rollout of telemedicine carts. House of Worship still has a lot of room to grow. There are so many churches who want to put in live streaming systems to share their message with the world, and they end up buying one or two cameras and then realize they'd like to put a camera on stage, or a camera in the drummer's area, or a camera to show something different, maybe the crowd or a baptismal area. So those systems tend to grow. And then in education, we have an auto tracking camera called the Simple Track 2 that we'll talk about in a little bit. It's really, really popular right now. So in telemedicine, just to recap, we have the fewest customers, but they are the highest value per customer. In House of Worship, there are incredible growth in numbers, and the average sale is roughly $4,000 to $6,000 when they get started with a live streaming system. And then additional sales growth, and whether you're an audiovisual dealer or somebody in the House of Worship market, tends to grow once they start to see the value of live streaming. The audiovisual system tends to grow. A small business, so many small businesses are starting to live stream. If they're, like I said, an Amazon merchant, someone on LinkedIn, leveraging Facebook Live, or even on YouTube now, there's very little competitive shopping done when they're working with someone who understands their needs. The value of marketing their brand and their company and creating videos that people can now see and interact with is so high that if you can understand their needs, and again, Facebook Live is free. YouTube Live is free. So these platforms are reaching so many people, and the infrastructure now, the internet highway has really paved the way for the value here. So spending a couple $1,000s on a live streaming system is nothing compared to the value they're going to get reaching customers and spreading their message quicker than their competitors. And in education, this is the product I want to talk about really quickly. I can show it to you live right here. This is for higher education. So this is our auto tracking camera. And let me show it to you guys really quickly, because this is an awesome camera. This camera has SDI. So a lot of these schools are running an SDI cable, maybe 100 feet, to a lecture capture system. They have a DVI, and which can be converted to HDMI for a capture for maybe like a local monitor, Ethernet for remote monitoring, and then USB for Zoom. And I actually have a short little video clip of a university in Ohio that, let's go ahead and play that has over 10 of these cameras installed throughout their buildings. And it's a 2-camera system. As you can see, it would automatically track the teacher left to right. And it allows the teachers to just not have to worry about the camera operation. The school here, Case Western Reserve University, was paying student camera operators to operate these cameras. So by having the cameras automatically be controlled, they paid for themselves within the first year. There's a reference camera on the bottom. I don't know if you guys could see that kind of surveys the whole area, and it directs where the optical zoom camera, the 20x optical zoom camera, can follow the teacher left to right. And we spent a lot of time on the software to make sure that the whiteboards stay in view at all times. There's some tweaking that kind of goes involved in setting this up properly. But this university will use the USB 3.0 port to connect to Zoom video conferencing for distance learning, for example. And then the SDI video is then shared and saved with lecture capture software, in this case, Echo 360. And then via Ethernet, they're able to remotely manage everything. And that's why it's so easy for these higher education systems to deploy large systems like this. So one of our hottest products, it's been selling so much, but we do have these in stock. They've been selling out over and over again. A really great product for higher education. And if you have any questions about it, let me know. We have some great case studies coming out with this product. It's $3,000. But there's no lanyard needed. It uses a combination of motion and facial tracking to track the subject. And the teachers are just so happy because they're upgrading from either older SD equipment to now HD equipment. And the students can clearly read everything that's written on those whiteboards. And, let's be honest, these learning management systems are part of the curriculum now. And these teachers are really trying to get video content into their online curriculums, whether it's Blackboard or Canvas or Kaltura, Panopto. that's really helping the students learn, especially in higher education where there's MBA programs. These are a lot of the MBA programs are buying a ton of these because the MBA students, they might have full-time jobs. They don't have a lot of time to be going back and forth through their notes. They like to just log in and rewatch the lecture, and it helps everyone kind of down the line. Now, our hottest product, our best-selling product, has always been and still is to this day the PTZ Optics 20X SDI camera. This camera is really just the best-selling PTZ camera for streaming and broadcast on the market. It has the ability to have power over Ethernet. So that's been a huge game changer in the industry. No need to have an electrician. You can get power, video, and audio just all over Ethernet. And that's something that we have a lot of videos on. You can learn a little bit more at ptzoptics.com/IP to learn about all the abilities of IP video today. But we have IP video, HDMI, and still most popular today is still SDI. And then we have the ability to pan, tilt, and zoom these cameras. Very well priced in the market, less expensive than Sony and Panasonic. Available in both white and gray. And then also available with some really interesting upgrades that we'll talk about. We introduced a 30X model of this that has been really popular, very competitive against what Sony and Panasonic have today. So 1080p up to 60 frames per second. That 60 frames per second is now very popular in sports. Sports likes to stream in high frame rates, so that gets us into more sports and higher end productions. So we talked about that camera. And these cameras are available in full kits. So if your customer wants a full live streaming kit, we have what's called the producer kit. And it's available with a base of a 12, 20, or 30X camera model, all three of our camera models that we have. And then if you're new to streaming and your customer wants a streaming system, this is a great place to start. It's got a super fast i7 computer. That's the Skull Canyon Intel NUC. It has a little capture card with 100 foot of SDI cabling. So that converts it to USB, which can be plugged right into your Intel NUC. There's an XLR to USB audio interface. So you can take the audio from a church mixer or maybe a school broadcast mixer into this system. And then it comes with a PTZ joystick. So that's what the PTZ kits are looking like, the PTZ Optics Producer kits. And if you get the Producer Plus kit, that actually includes a 4-port SDI box. So the regular Producer kit is really good for 1 to 2 cameras. The Producer Plus kit is good up to 4 cameras. Now, another really popular product that we have today, and we're actually using this 12X Z-Cam here to create this really beautiful image slider that you see there. It's sliding back and forth between our products here. But this is the PTZ Optics Z-Cams. And what we realized after a lot of customers were asking for this is they want to have a camera that actually matches our PTZ models. So we have a 20X PTZ model, a 12X PTZ model. This is the 12X here, right? So the 12X. And so we have Z-Cams that match the lenses perfectly. So if you have 3 12X PTZ cameras and you want to add 2 or 3 12X Z-Cams that match perfectly from a color matching and lens perspective, these have been really popular. And actually, radio stations specifically have been using these 12X Z-Cams to get really high quality, almost Blackmagic quality cameras in a really affordable form factor with PoE, power over Ethernet, SDI, and the ability to use something called the NewTek NDI, which is a really popular new IP video production protocol we'll briefly touch on, but we won't have time to really go over too much. So there's our Z-Cam VL. This is our top-selling Z-Cam. The reason why is because it has a wide 120-degree field of view, and it's only $499. So this product is really well priced. I think what's happening is that a lot of people out there have a Blackmagic switcher, a Roland switcher, a video switcher that they purchased. They've got a couple PTZ cameras, and they've still got a couple inputs left on that video switcher, and they've got a little bit of money left in their budget, And this is really one of the most affordable wide-angle SDI cameras that they can add a wide-angle shot to. Actually, here's the camera. This is actually the camera right here. You can see it's got a really wide field of view, and we use it as a secondary camera. A lot of churches are putting these in the drum cages. A lot of places are putting these in as just an extra shot in their video production system. Now, our probably fastest growing product over the past 3 months has been our 30X cameras. So the 30X camera models are really well positioned, and all of our cameras over the past year have supported this new IP standard called NDI. And NDI now is integrated into Skype, which gets it in the hands of like 300 million users. It's integrated into OBS, the world's most popular live streaming software. 40 million people use that. But pretty much every live streaming software works with it. Wirecast, vMix, OBS, Livestream Studio, even the new tech TriCasters. And NDI has a really great high-quality virtualization plugin that would allow you to bring any NDI source into a software like Zoom or Skype or WebEx. So imagine you could just plug in Ethernet to one PTZ Optics camera. It would provide power, and it would send video and audio. If you need the audio, there's an audio line in on these cameras, and you could bring it right into Zoom. So no need to hassle with USB 3.0 extenders. It's a really great way to move to the IP. Now, we've got a lot of great accessories. In fact, our wall mounts come in black and white. They're made here in Pennsylvania, actually here in Lancaster. So they're made in America, and they're the number one selling wall mounts in the industry. They're universal, so they're being used for all kinds of cameras, even Sony's and Panasonic's. They fit right in there with a 1/4-20 thread. There's space for cables to come in the bottom or out the side. And it's really well designed with the ability to have a little bit of space if you're an installer to just get those lateral and horizontal screws to be really kind of just leveled out when they're installed. So it's very installation friendly. Now we have 2 joystick controllers. We have a serial joystick controller here, and we have an IP joystick here. And they're both very hot sellers. Someone buys 4 cameras and they need an easy way to control it. Now we do offer ceiling mounts as well. So you can put these on the ceiling. You probably saw throughout this broadcast a couple shots that were coming from the ceiling. That's one of our white cameras that's on the ceiling. And we also offer wall mounts with a pipe mount. Oh, there you go. There's a shot from the ceiling there. We also offer them with a pipe mount. So if you're in a church or a vaulted ceiling, you can drop down a 1-inch pipe, threaded pipe, and then bring the camera down to a really nice, ideal area. Now, I'm going to kind of wrap up here. Hopefully, I'm leaving enough time for Q&A. Our support team is what sets us apart. You can call this phone number right now, and someone's going to pick up the phone. We've actually got 4 agents now, and they maintain an extensive knowledge base. So immediately, you should be able to find most troubleshooting scenarios right away and answer to it. They have a great support ticket system. So if it's something where you want to submit a ticket and then work with them on something that's a little bit more advanced, they will go through it and they won't close that ticket until it's finished. And they're available via chat, phone, and email, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, Eastern Standard Time. Now, if you're a dealer or someone looking to populate their website with all the latest photos, pictures, data sheets, manuals, we have something called the Marketing Campaign in a Box. And our marketing team, which consists of myself, Michael Luttermoser, Test Pro Testo, and Brian Mulcahy, we all work together to make sure that this is up to date. And it also includes everything has been translated to Spanish, French, German, and I think that's the 3 that we support other than English. But you can download this Dropbox folder, and it's going to be all the data sheets, all the manuals, everything that you guys need. Now, another great option that a lot of folks love is the iOS and Android apps. It's also available for the Fire Kindles now on the Amazon store. This allows you to wirelessly control up to 8 cameras. A funny story, I was at Infocom, and a gentleman walked up to me from a church, I think it was in Georgia, and he said now he can control the cameras and sit next to his wife in the church pews and not have to be stuck back at the joystick in his church. So it's interesting what you can do once it's a wireless control system. Now, we also have free Mac and PC apps, and these are really great for our folks that are using hardware switchers because they might not have a way to take software control of the cameras or get a software preview, live video preview of the cameras. These cameras have this software has a new feature where you can upload a panoramic image from your smartphone to the software and then drag and drop where you want the presets to be, and you can actually click. So if you're setting this up for a school or a church, they can actually just click where they want the camera to go on a picture, and the camera will go there. So it's really popular. And then we've also developed a plugin for OBS, the world's most popular live streaming software. Again, there's like 40 million users out there on it, and it's been a huge growth factor for us because there's so many people live streaming with that software. Now, almost the last slide here. I don't know if anyone's familiar with MIDI, but MIDI is something used by a lot of musicians, and this is driven by the church market. A lot of churches plan out their Sunday service with 4 or 5 songs, and everything is controlled on a digital audio workstation like Ableton or Logic or Apple Logic Pro Tools, and everything's laid out on a timeline, so when they hit play, there might be backing tracks that play with the musicians, a click track in their ears, and it might even control the lyrics to the slides and also the lighting in the room. Well, the churches came to us, a lot of different churches, and said, if we could control the cameras with MIDI, then we could actually just drop in our timeline exactly where we want the cameras to move in the song. So if there's a guitar solo, have the camera go to the guitar. And so we built that, and it's really exciting for a lot of our customers. And then I mentioned esports. You're going to see a lot more from us in the esports space. But we built a Twitch PTZ plugin. Twitch is the world's largest esports video gaming live streaming website, and it's an extension that allows viewers to control the PTZ camera inside their favorite creator's studio. So it's a little bit ahead of its time, but I do think it's really going to take off. We'll be at TwitchCon in San Diego in California this September showing that off, but it is available today. Again, that OBS app is really, really popular. If you've watched this far, I would ask you to join our Facebook user group. It's facebook.com/group/PTZ Optics Pals. There's over 4,000 PTZ Optics camera users in this group, and it's a great way to meet end users, see what different people are doing. There's everyone from the world's top DJs who are putting these cameras on stage and showing you behind the scenes how they're setting up their cool live streaming rigs, to churches in small towns, to corporate companies, to other audiovisual integrators jumping on, showing pictures, helping other people out. So it's a great place to meet customers and see what people are doing. And then finally, we do have a deal registration program, ptzoptics.com/deals. So you can learn more about that there. And we have a free training course, and we keep it really up to date with all the latest information. If you want to spend an hour just learning about how these cameras work, what's going on in the live streaming world, a little bit of networking and IP video knowledge, take our free course. It's at udemy.com. Just search for PTZ Optics. We'll pop right up, and it'll be a worthwhile hour and a half that you can spend learning about live streaming and video production, and even a little bit of video conferencing as well. Because you can see we're taking our video production studio here and using it in Zoom. And there's so many new technology applications out there. We'd love to help you, and obviously work with you guys. So if you have any questions, comments, comment on YouTube, comment on Facebook. I personally check those all the time. And we're really a company that we want to try to be on the cutting edge and work with you guys to solve issues and come up with new ideas for new emerging markets.
So we do have some Q&A. And the first question that came in is, the PTZ Optics producer kits appear to be set up for serial control. Do you offer kits set up for IP control with PoE?
That is a common question, and I will say that we are building internally, it has not been released yet, an IP-only version of the producer kits, and it's going to actually reduce costs, and it is going to be a lot more flexible. We're working on a few different ways to deploy that so that it is, I hate to say dummy proof, because we want it to be able to, that the cameras will automatically have their IP addresses set. This system, yes, it is serial based. And that is because we wanted to have a system that anyone could plug and play, set up with no networking knowledge, no need for a router or a switch. So these are serial based systems. You can 100% build an IP system. I would implore you to do so. Check out ptzoptics.com/IP, and we have video tutorials on how to set up really affordable routers, networking switches, tips on how to stay organized when it comes to setting IP addresses for all the devices. But as of right now, you're right, those are serial products, SDI plug and play, serial RS-232 control cabling. We will be releasing IP versions in probably 2020.
Awesome. We got another question here. This one comes in from Michael Honore. Says, I have a project where I will need to do multicam capture. My options are HD SDI, NDI, or RTSP. What am I sacrificing with each of these, and what would you recommend for best quality?
That is a great question, and I love answering that question. So SDI, 3G SDI is 1080p at 60 frames a second. So our cameras support 3G SDI, and SDI is incredibly rugged. It's incredibly durable. There's locking connectors on the cameras and the receiving devices. So the HDMI, for example, if you plug that in, you could trip over it and it could pop out. SDI is very much a professional production system, and 3G stands for 3 gigabits of data. So that's what 3G means. So NDI, so here's the back of the camera here. Is that this one here? I can show this here. So here's that locking connector here, that Belden locking connector. I'll undo it and I'll plug it right back in. Boop. That is 3G SDI. But you can see that this is an NDI enabled camera. So that Ethernet port can output NDI. Now, NDI is compressed. Okay, compression algorithms have come so far in the past couple years. It's always being improved. In fact, NDI is very similar in quality to SDI, but because it's compressed, generally you won't notice any difference unless there's low light. And when there's low light, you kind of will start to notice a little bit of pixelation in the crescendos. There's not as much color space in the compressed video. That's what you're losing. You're losing color space. So if you're in a low lighting scenario where there's going to be low light on stage, SDI is going to give you more data. Now, the drawback with SDI is you have to run an SDI cable. With NDI, you're running one Ethernet cable. It powers the camera, it controls the camera, and it gives you video. So you end up saving a lot of money because you don't need to purchase capture devices and capture cards. So NDI, for so many people, especially in a well-lit studio, like a radio station or a studio like this, NDI is going to be perfectly fine, especially if you're streaming to YouTube or Facebook. That is going to be compressed anyway. Video going to Zoom video conferencing is compressed anyway. So it doesn't make as much of a difference. But if you're really wanting to do high quality sports broadcasting with high frame rates, if you're wanting to do, low light on stage, SDI is going to be the best. RTSP is generally only used for like preview. Like our free Mac and PC apps will use RTSP to connect directly to the cameras. But RTSP generally has a buffer in order to maintain a stable video connection. And it's not generally used for like live production. It's more used for like a preview where if there's a blip in the connection, no one cares. It's not really going out into the production system.
Awesome. We have another question that comes in from Daniel Cuppers. I'm sorry if I mispronounced the name. I've seen you feature the camera speed. My concern is how slow can I pan with the IP joystick?
That's a great question. I can actually go ahead and plug in this IP joystick right now and show you. So this IP joystick, by the way, is PoE. So that's really nice. So This IP joystick, you go ahead and you plug it in, and it is totally powered over Ethernet. So just give it a sec. It's going to pop right on. And I can take control of one of these cameras and show you just how slowly it can pan. So there's a couple different speed settings on these cameras. And I'm going to go ahead and show you the slowest speed on maybe this camera that's on me now. Give me 1 second, and let's see, what camera is this? 64. All right, camera 1 here is 64. Okay, so this is like the normal kind of default here. Let me change the speed setting for pan to 0. Right, that was at 24. I'll show you this. It's really slow. I'll show you the slowest speed setting. Here we go. All right. Now look how slow it's panning. Can you guys see that, Chris?
Yep.
So that's the slowest pan setting there. And you can control that right with this is the IP joystick, right? Here's the IP joystick. So that's what I'm using. So you have full capabilities of setting the speed through the joystick, and that's quite slow. Of course, generally you'd probably want it to be a little faster. And you can set pan, tilt, and zoom speeds differently. And the reason why that's important, especially for like live streaming a basketball game, for example, a lot of schools are live streaming basketball games and recording the video. The student athletes are reviewing that video with their coaches later, trying to improve. I was at a school up in New York City, and they would look at the past time they played a team and then review the players and really get a good idea of who they were going to play against. And when you're live streaming like that, you want to go left to right with the camera, up and down the basketball court, but you don't need to go up and down much. So they'll turn the tilt really low so it doesn't go too high up and down. But left to right, they actually kind of go pretty quickly as they follow the basketball back and forth. And then there's a new feature that we just implemented called pan and tilt limits. So if you're just trying to cover a basketball court left to right, you can create a limit on the left side and a limit on the right side, so you never overshoot, go past the basket. That's as far left as you ever need to go. So it makes camera operation a lot easier.
Awesome. The last couple comments that we have before we wrap up, somebody out on the interwebs have complimented you on your Nintendo-style logo T-shirts. The next time you do a webinar, if you're not carrying a T-shirt cannon and shooting them into the crowd, you will not be allowed back. And people were wondering about your wheel of prizes that you have there. Unfortunately, your wheel of prizes isn't going to work on our webinar, but we do have a raffle to give away. So I will go ahead, and we have a $50 Amazon gift card that has been going to the participants of this call. And my producer here has picked out a winner randomly. And the winner is Tom Leonard from Audio Video Corp. You will be contacted by Mark Decker. He is from Starin. He will give you get some information to receive that $50 Amazon gift card. Mr. Richards, thank you so much for coming to do a live town hall with us. Where can people find out more information about PTZ Optics?
PTZoptics.com is a great place. Check out our Facebook page because we really keep that up to date, and that Facebook user group. Go ahead and click the join button. You won't regret it. You're going to see so many awesome live streaming and video production projects from customers all around the world.
And one last kudos that just came in is people are digging your YouTube channel. So kudos to you and the Stream Geeks and the PTZ Optics team for putting together some cool live video. Who better to come on and talk about the future of live video than a person who basically incorporates it into his everyday work. So thank you. It's been a great learning experience to see how these PTZ cameras are going to be used in the future. I love where you're going with the eSport conversation, because typically most of that conversation revolves around the production of an eSport or a live event version of an eSport. Nobody stops to think that the cameras that are going to be pointed at the the gamers themselves are part of that equation. So people that are interested in finding out more information regarding esports, you can reach out to Paul Richards. He is probably one of the easiest people to find online, whether it's through Facebook, LinkedIn, or through the Twitters. You can find Paul out there. You can also find out more information about us, Starin, at starin.biz. You can also find us out on the Twitter as well, communicating back and forth with Paul at Starin_marketing. Thank you so much. My name's Chris Neto. I am the Market Development Manager for Starin. On behalf of myself, Mark Decker, who is manning the 1 and 2 and helping me getting this town hall together. Paul, again, thank you so much for stopping by and giving us a great body of knowledge on what the future of USB, PTZ, SDSI, all the cool stuff that you brought into the conversation. Thank you so much for coming by and watching the Starin Town Hall. We'll talk again soon. Thank you very much.